The Modi government versus Twitter showdown culminated today with the social media platform losing its intermediary status. This after the tech giant failed to comply with the centre's new IT rules. What this effectively means is that Twitter now has no legal protection against the content hosted on its platform.
Massive escalation to the Centre versus Twitter war. The months-long showdown over new IT laws at its peak, leading to Twitter losing its legal immunity in India, making it liable for criminal case for any unlawful post as a publisher and not a platform. Taking down the illegal post will no longer suffice. But how did Twitter find itself in this legal knot? Government sources say Twitter repeatedly defied government directive to appoint key officials for grievance redressal of users, even initially posting a lawyer at a legal firm to hoodwink guidelines. The biggest flashpoint came over appointing of a compliance officer, which was delayed repeatedly by Twitter. IT Minister lashed out at Twitter, accusing it of deliberate defiance and posing as free speech champion to circumvent India's legal system, pointing out the alleged arbitrary use of manipulated media tags.
Regarding the Twitter part, or other have complied, we should then notice after...
You gave them 3 months.
No, 3 months. When I announced in the press conference, I believe you are also present.
Yes.
On the 25th of February. 3 months' time was given to the significant social media intermediary, namely those who are having 50 lakhs and more of followers. This exhausted itself on 26th of May this year. Okay. Many have complied. We were in correspondence. We gave them the last goodwill gesture. Please do.
Comply.
Otherwise, it will have consequences.
But the opposition called the entire tussle a misplaced priority of the government.
विशाल हृदय का ये देश किसी एक प्लेटफॉर्म से कमजोर हो जाए। मैं समझता हूं कि सरकार को अपनी प्राथमिकताएं तय करनी चाहिए इस बार।
Experts say that Twitter needs to follow the law of the land like it does in many other countries.
A lot of paid influencers and bots have blown the conversations out of context, and a lot of information has been really misleading. So I think the government is fair, and I think we must all encourage and feel that Twitter should go ahead and set up local presence the way government is asking.
Twitter had a running feud with the centre over using manipulated media tag for several BJP handles. It also blinked after government pressure and blocked handles posting fake genocide claims during the initial days of the farm protest. The microblogging site is the only tech firm to lose immunity shield, as Facebook, Google, Instagram, WhatsApp have already fallen in line.
Twitter says it is in the process of meeting the centre's social media intermediary guidelines. Now, what the future holds in store for the social media platform remains to be seen. But with its legal cover gone in the interim, the social media platform can be liable for criminal prosecution if found to be posting or publishing any content which is deemed to be objectionable, fake or inflammatory in nature on its platform. With camera person Kirpal Singh, Paulami Saha in Delhi for India Today.
Soon after losing legal protection, the first FIR was filed against Twitter in Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh. The Yogi Adityanath government also booked a prominent fact-checker and Congress netas for allegedly spreading hate by sharing a video of assault on an old man as a hate crime. The UP police says the incident was the result of personal enmity.
This viral video of a man in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh, being assaulted first emerged on Monday. The video showed an elderly man being assaulted and his beard being forcibly cut off. The incident took place on the 5th of June On the 7th, in a Facebook Live with a local Samajwadi Party leader, Ummed Pahalwan, the man alleged that he was forced to chant Jai Shri Ram while being assaulted. Several journalists, Congress leaders and a prominent fact-checker expressed outrage while sharing the video, backing these unverified claims on Twitter, prompting the UP police to launch a probe. It has now emerged that the incident was not a communal crime at all, but the result of a personal rivalry. And the UP government has cracked the whip. An FIR has now been filed against social media giant Twitter, fact-checker Mohammad Zubair, co-founder of Alt News, journalist Rana Ayub, online news portal The Wire, Congress leaders Salman Nizami and Dr. Shama Mohammad, and author Saba Naqvi.
We have registered an FIR yesterday in which 7 people have been named and 2 Twitter and Twitter India have been made a party to it. Our social media team is still actively searching for posts who are still indulged. We'll take action against them also.
ट्विटर कॉरपोरेशन तथा ट्विटर कम्युनिकेशन इंडिया प्राइवेट लिमिटेड द्वारा भी उक्त धार्मिक संवेदनशील झूठे ट्वीट्स को हटाने के लिए भी कोई कार्रवाई नहीं की गई, जो उनका कर्तव्य एवं जिम्मेदारी थी। अतः जनपद गाजियाबाद के थाना लूनी में इन सभी के विरुद्ध मुकदमा अपराध संख्या 502/21 सुसंगत धाराओं में दर्ज किया गया है, जिनमें साक्ष्य के आधार पर कड़ी कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
The FIR against Twitter comes on a day it lost its intermediary status for not complying with information technology rules in India. The tech giant, along with 6 others, face up to 3 years in jail. They've been charged with provocation to cause a riot, promoting enmity, deliberate and malicious acts intended to outrage religious feelings, and criminal conspiracy. Politics over fake claims and the viral video have also exploded.
इन लोगों के अंदर होड़ है कि किस तरह से 2022 का जो चुनाव है यूपी का, उसकी चाबी सांप्रदायिकता के माध्यम से खोल दी जाए। लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी और योगी जी की जो सरकार है उसका वो प्रतिबद्ध है कि 4.5 साल में कम्युनल या सांप्रदायिक माहौल होने नहीं दिया और ना होने देंगे।
निर्दयता, निर्ममता और सारे बंधनों को तोड़ते हुए जिस तरह हुई घटना, ये दर्शाता है कि कानून का राज उत्तर प्रदेश में नहीं है।
इस देश के अंदर सभी जानते हैं कि जाति धर्म की राजनीति कौन करता है, कि उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर में कोई व्यक्ति चाहे किसी भी जाति धर्म का हो, उसकी सुरक्षा करना सरकार की जिम्मेदारी होती है और उसका लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन करना भी सरकार की जिम्मेदारी होती है। सरकार अपनी जिम्मेदारी से नहीं भाग सकती, ये तय है।
The big question remains, was this old man made to say that he was forced to chant Jai Shri Ram? Was there a bigger conspiracy afoot? The investigation continues.
The Ghaziabad police claims they didn't find any communal motive behind the incident, and also they claim that none of the accused forced the victim to chant Jai Shri Ram. Hence, an FIR has been lodged against Twitter, Twitter India and many other people who tweeted this video claiming it to be a communal incident. With camera person Ritesh Mishra, this is Abhishek Anand reporting from Ghaziabad for India Today.
I have many very important questions to take up on the news track. Let's start with the first. Is it even fair and appropriate to file an FIR against a tech company like Twitter for content posted by a user, content that wasn't posted directly by the Twitter management but by one of its users? Can Twitter be held accountable for that and charged now for this? Joining me on this broadcast, I want to welcome first a man who works very closely with the government's IT wings, its thinking on tech and security. Arvind Gupta, he's a digital economy policy expert, has headed up mygov.com. With us on this broadcast is Aparmaya Radhakrishna, co-founder of Koo, the Atmanirbhar alternative to Twitter. For a perspective on what privacy, internet freedom experts and activists think about what's going on, I'm joined by Mishi Chaudhary, technology lawyer, founder of SFCL.in. Rahul Narayan is an advocate at the Supreme Court, tracks data privacy this whole tech space very, very closely. Rohan Gupta is a spokesperson of the Congress party. So welcome to all our guests. I want to go across and ask Arvind Gupta first to establish why you think what is being done isn't wrong, because what you've got over here is a situation where a claim was put out by users of a social media platform, and now you're looking to book the tech company for what was carried on its website, on its platforms, on its handles. How and why do you believe that this action is not inappropriate? Let's start with Arvind Gupta.
So Rahul, the whole genesis of this intermediary, why these platforms were being called intermediaries, lies way back in a case where a very good friend of mine, Avnish Bajaj, was booked because he was then the CEO of a marketplace called Bazi.com. And Bazi was hosted things that you could sell, buy, and things like that. And somebody hosted or posted to sell that very infamous MMS video. And that time, there was no intermediary guidelines and the safe harbor protection that exists today. And that was brought in because the ever-changing world of technology, the country realized that we are in a situation where the basic word intermediaries meet the buyer and the seller, the content creator and the consumer. And when the content creator, which is all of us on Twitter, for example, or Facebook, we create some content, it's user-generated content, and the platform really plays very little role.
No, so that's in the past, but now your government is seeking to change that. Why do you think that's okay? Because what happened with Bazi is exactly what's happened now with Twitter. You're holding them accountable for content that they didn't create.
Rahul, I'm coming to that. Okay. So there is a provision in the law that has been created to protect them. Unfortunately, we have this great champion called Twitter, freedom of expression champion, which thinks that we have outsourced enforcing freedom of speech and freedom of expression in our country to them. We have not. India has not outsourced that to them. They are not flag bearers of freedom of speech or expression in India. Definitely, they are misguided if they think so. They chose themselves not to avail of the safe harbor by not complying with the very provisions of the law that they're seeking protection under. It's up to Twitter. It's not up to the government of India. The Twitter has chosen not to comply with the provisions which give them the protection. So you have to understand that, and enough time has been given. Everybody else has complied. 3 months has been given. That was a regular time period from 25th of February to about 26th of May. And then the government actually, in a goodwill gesture, had actually extended the time for them. They failed to comply. And when you fail to comply and you have been given extra time, I don't think so. It's not the government's prerogative any longer. It's the law.
Okay.
And the law of the land.
Rahul Narayan, why should action not be taken against Twitter? They were given 3 months to set up a grievance officer. The rules were explained. Other tech giants have cooperated with the law, and they have to because they're operating under Indian law. Twitter, for some reason, believes it's above the law and doesn't need to comply with what the government is saying. Why then should they continue to enjoy intermediary status if they haven't done what the government mandated them to do? You can challenge it in the courts if you don't like, but if it's a law, every company needs to comply with it or you can't operate in India. It's as simple as that. Why does Twitter think it's above the law? Rahul Narayan.
Actually, Rahul, you put it absolutely correctly. The simple fact is that unless you challenge a law and you get a stay order, you're supposed to comply with the law. Therefore, for Twitter to say that they don't want to comply, etc., that's not really an option. They have to comply with the law unless they are able to get a stay order from the court. Now, the second issue, of course, is whether how the government of India should react to this and what they should do, etc., etc. But what is very important to remember about the intermediary guidelines is that this protection of whether you are an intermediary or not, is not taken away by the government. It will be a determination by the courts. The Rule 7, which provides that you have to comply with these rules or else, that rule will have to be interpreted by the courts. And my take on this is that it looks like Twitter is complying now. So by the time a case, if it does come up for hearing at the future stage, then by that time they would have complied and therefore they would probably be able to get out of it. That said, I mean, as a matter of general fairness, to put up a platform to this kind of notice, even in the ordinary terms of criminal law, does not seem to me to be particularly wise or fair. Okay, if this was about spreading religious hatred or something like that, should there not be at least a minimum requirement of some kind of basis for this belief? Rather than, it is one thing, for example, to hold politicians accountable or to hold journalists accountable. Totally different thing to talk about a platform. And even more importantly, I think that this is the UP police is determined, for example, that this was that the incident has taken place in a particular way. The person himself is still saying that no, what he was saying is actually true. So there is no actual determination by anyone that this has actually happened. So I think an FIR in this case right now is very, very premature.
That's the point. Aparmaya Radhakrishnan, you don't know at this moment whether or not this particular gentleman was forced, Abdul Samad was forced to chant Jai Shri Ram or not. There is enough evidence to suggest he wasn't, but then there are some strands which say that yes, the video that came out, he was forced to say this. It is at this moment a matter of investigation. It could pan out in either way. The police has taken a position, but as we've seen in the Pinjra Tod case, ultimately the High Court came to a different opinion. So the local police taking a position doesn't mean that is the final position. Why then do you believe that the government's actions now saying that you can take legal action against Twitter, file an FIR, is not inappropriate?
So I think when it comes to even coup, which is like just above a year old, and we've been able to comply with whatever the requirements were from the guidelines well within the time, and we were the only social media company or intermediary which did that before time, right, before the deadline. I think there was a fair chance to have those discussions for the 3 months and bring up anything. But if there was no objection, then complying wasn't a problem for us, and it's not been a problem for a lot of other people, right? So I think that way a fair amount of time was given, and if the law is saying that if you don't comply to the guidelines, then you become a media house yourself, then I think if you become a media house and you're going to be responsible for everything that any user says, you will start thinking about what to allow and what not to allow. And that suddenly affects the freedom of speech, which, a platform like any microblogging platform, whether it's Coup or Twitter, would want to defend.
Mishi, has
So
Twitter
I think it's
bungled
very
its legal
important
strategy
to
here? One is, like Facebook went to the court saying, we're not okay with your law, with your new rules on end-to-end encryption and wanting us to go and try and tell you who sent the message. We want to challenge this in court. So they're challenging it. We'll find out from a court whether or not they agree with what Facebook is saying or whether they agree with what the government is saying. Twitter here says, I don't like this, I will not do it. Is Twitter trying to appear to be above the law by saying, yeah, we are trying to follow your guidelines, but this is what we'll do. This person is not directly housed inside the Twitter architecture. He's taken on as a consultant. The government says, we told you what our guidelines are and you don't seem to be following them.
Rahul, if you're going to ask a lawyer who's not retained by Twitter whether their strategy is good or not to get hired, I might say, yes, it's not good until they hire me. But jokes aside, I will say that it is true that they must comply with the rules until the rules have been either annulled by the parliament, which is still a possibility. It is a subordinate legislation. Parliament hasn't met. There are 30 days. These rules can be amended or annulled as per the parliamentary procedure. The second is, of course, that these rules have been challenged by a variety of other parties in several high courts, and there's a likelihood of the matter going to the Supreme Court. It would be right to say that they should have challenged it and that continue to do whatever they are doing and the discussions here happening. As much as I know, they have appointed somebody in the interim, and one of the problems which everybody is going to face, whether they have the threshold of 5 million users or they don't, or they have whatever they can comply with, is this criminal liability. I think you can't take away the idea that India is not the only country dealing with disinformation and misinformation. Everybody's dealing with the same problems. Everybody's trying to address these issues. but no country is trying to put criminal liability on employees of a platform. They can be subjected to large fines, there can be damages, etc., like everyone else is doing. The second part I will say is that there is a lot of theater happening. We've never seen government trying to negotiate this on Twitter, through letters, through this and that. The ministry or the government or any statements don't determine whether somebody is an intermediary and whether they can take away the legal shield or not. It's not the first time, whether it's Twitter or any other platform, has been made a party in a criminal complaint. They have been fighting a lot of cases all around the country. I've represented some platforms, not Twitter. But what happens is that when they show up in the court and court says, hey, you've been now implicated in this, what did you do? They say, oh, we have a legal safe harbor provision here. And that is what the IT Act provides here. The purpose here is that the government tries to pretend that they're all doing it for user rights. But we all know that all political parties, if the source of misinformation was to be traced, a lot of this is political content, not everyday users. Second, parties like Twitter or platforms need to be more transparent and accountable about how they do certain things and content blocking happens. Third, all of this can't be just done between this public theater, which everybody is doing, without taking into account that users' rights are at stake. There is a lot of blocking of information happening. There is a lot of content takedown happening. And everybody uses it for the purpose of saying, oh, we're only doing it for women's rights, we're only doing it for...
No, but that's not correct, because, for example, a cartoonist, Manjul, had a notice sent to him from Twitter saying that you've put out content which has been flagged to us by the government of India. So the charge that the government will need to deal with, Arvind Gupta, is that it's content which you don't like, which shows government protagonists in bad lights, even if it is a cartoon or a satire, which is what you seem to have a problem with. And it's not as if the law is being applied equally in all cases, Arvind Gupta.
I think this applies to Twitter more than anybody else. Twitter has its own choice of when it wants to tag something as manipulated media, when it does not. When there is a public harm, imminent public harm, and you yourself are saying there is no clear evidence in this Loni case, whether the video, whatever the incident was, when it's under investigation, and the government, the UP police gave them 24 hours to take it down. They didn't take it down. So my limited point is...
No, but you aren't answering my question. Sure, Twitter has to answer for a lot, and I'll ask those questions. But my question is this, that the legal action seems to be politically motivated against those you don't like. So Rohan Gupta's party went after Shama Mohammed. If somebody in the BJP had put out fake news, as many of your followers sometimes do, it's not as if you would have been quickly filing FIRs against them.
Well, let me explain to you. First of all, the government in this Twitter's case has not issued any order saying the Twitter does not have any safe harbor provisions. There is no order from the government. It's automatic. If you don't follow the law, automatically your immunity is gone. So please, let's be very clear on this. I agree with what Mishi is saying. The government has not revoked any immunity. It just so happened that the timelines passed away, and this incident happened a couple of days ago. And it's not. This was a show that was put up. It has all happened.
So this is a good time to go to Rohan Gupta, because it's Congress leaders who are also named in this FIR for having put out and not taken down videos which the UP police said after their little investigation are not correct, and therefore they wanted them to be taken down. And therefore now Arvind Gupta and the Uttar Pradesh police say you must answer for what you've put out, and there will be a case.
So Rahul, as you have rightly said and many panelists have said, I have been debating a lot on your show also on this issue. The basic question is the intention of this government. If something is wrong, who will decide what is wrong? Here, UP police has decided, okay, this is wrong, FIR is filed. Based on that, government has decided, okay, now Twitter has not followed, there is no safe harbor. As one of the panelists clearly said,
government
it is a court matter, right? It is a matter. Please don't speak in
my friend.
Let me complete.
No, but that government
Let me complete.
I can't allow this. This is a very, very sensitive conversation. It impacts every one of our lives quite literally. I request both our participants to try and win through the power of the argument that you can make, because you're both extremely sharp and intelligent, not by interjecting when the other is speaking. Rohan Gupta, please conclude.
Yeah, so Rahul, very, very clearly, the intention of this government, they take decision, they are the people who will decide what is wrong. And what is wrong for them is what is wrong against their government. If you talk about Twitter, a few days back, Minister told Twitter to take down 30 posts. You tell me what was wrong there. They were displaying the COVID failure of this government, but that is wrong for the government. That was not wrong for the country. Before that, during farmer protests, they requested Twitter to take down particular handles. Why they were taken down? Because they were talking about government. So unless and until intention of government is
no, so that's the point. That's the point, Arvind Gupta, that you need to respond to. That in every instance, or most of the instances where action is taken, if somebody is making fun of Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi or saying something inappropriate, fake or disinformation, there's nothing that you will do. But if it touches one of yours, then very quickly you want to take action, flag it off to Twitter, or in some cases even file police cases and complaints against them.
Rohan and Rahul Kanwal, let me be very, very frank in saying that if you were to look at the kind of criticism that goes on Twitter and you think that is being removed, I think we are all mistaken. Twitter has now, as many people, there was a time that there was, when I was in the BJP, there was a time, there was a, you could say there was quite a dominant party, but now it's expanded so much that we have the BJP, the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party, there are neutrals, there's also people who are criticizing the government day in, day out. I think what Rohan is missing is there's a difference in criticizing the government. Nobody objects to criticism. Everybody has a right to criticize. Mr. Rahul Gandhi criticizes the government every day in and out. The problem is misinformation, fake news and disinformation. And in this particular case also, in my very, very measured opinion and non-political opinion, it was, if there is a iota of a doubt that this could create a lot of public disorder, which it can be
no, but
very
Nishi, we have here a situation where laws and norms are not being equally applied by both. So the government largely taking down or flagging posts that they don't like, even though there is, yes, Arvind is right to the extent of saying that there is a lot of criticism of the government, but when they think they don't like something or they find it inappropriate, it's flagged. But Twitter also is guilty of being inconsistent. Sambit Patra's tweet was tagged manipulated media very quickly, but when others put out videos which are unfair, inappropriate, wrong, disinformation or fake news, Twitter doesn't seem to move with the same speed, so it's very inconsistent. Nishi.
The first thing I'm going to say is that let's not forget in all of this that it is a private party, a private company running a platform. It is important to understand that, yes, it's now become the default where a lot of our discussions do happen, and many of us use it to express what we would like to say in terms of our opinion. That opinion can be in favor of the government, can be a criticism, can be anything which we want to do. But that doesn't take away the fact that it's a private platform. Now, Government of India is subject to constitutional and fundamental rights, and there are rights which we can enforce against our government. We don't have the same ability to force it against a private platform. So to subject it to the same standard doesn't even make legal sense. The second thing I'm going to say, that is true, that Twitter needs to be more transparent and it needs to be more accountable. But in the Sambit Patra matter itself, if manipulated media, as it had labeled it, that was required by these very rules which the government has come up with. The rules require the platform to label something which is patently false and misleading or inform the users. Now, it could have been, if Mr. Patra thought this was wrong, it should have stayed between Mr. Patra and Twitter. For ministries to jump in, that also raises that suspicion about the fact that you're trying to control the narrative rather than leaving it to be decided there. The third thing I will say is that, for example, the issue about whether Indian variant is being mentioned on social media or not. Government should be more worried about the fact that Indian variant is present in the hospitals. Why are they worried so much about on the social media? That is why this thing, which could be genuine, is seen with
Aparmaya Radhakrishnan, respond to the concern that Mishi raises. Is this about mahal? Is this about narrative? Is it about hawa? Is it about controlling what people are saying, thinking and doing on social media? Because let's take the Indian variant. Is it fair to flag and want to take down somebody's Twitter handle because they're talking about a variant and you don't want this to be called the Indian variant? You can be unhappy but can you ask for that to be taken down? Is that even appropriate, Aparmaya?
If you look at other examples across the world, whether it's Singapore or where this all started with this, which is China. So I think it's been accepted that you don't call a variant or anything of that sort using the country's name. So I think if every country in the world is following that, India asking for that to be followed according to the powers of the constitution, I think it's totally fine. So I don't see a problem in that at all. That's my take.
Okay, I want to come to this next question, which is actually very significant, because can you hold employees working at Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp individually and personally liable for what may happen on their platforms? Now, for example, whether it's the managing director of Twitter who's been called for questioning by the police, and in other cases as well, it emerges that the individuals can be held accountable and liable for what may be said by somebody else on their platform. And there, Rahul Narayan, the question is, how do you ensure that this doesn't happen? Because who's ever going to want to work with Facebook, Twitter, or any of these companies if you know that anything that is said by anybody, now on the back of this, Rohan Gupta could say something about Arvind or someone in the BJP who he doesn't like, and then, and if you're engaged with Twitter, you could end up having to deal with the legal consequences of that.
That's absolutely right. That's again a very good point, Rahul. And may I please point two quick things. Firstly, about the manipulated media thing. Now, what's important to note is that at least in my reading of the intermediary guidelines, there's nothing which says anything about labeling tweets. Therefore, as far as labeling is concerned, it's pretty much their own internal policy which prevails, because that's a private platform. And there is a very big difference between manipulating a false video, marking a false video, and one thing which may be incorrect or may not be incorrect. So, as far as Twitter is concerned, they did an investigation and found out that they felt that Sambit Patra's tweet was manipulated media, but is why it's mentioned manipulated media. If you will recall some discussions for the last year and a half about fake news, one of the most important things, one of the most important solutions which were decided by all tech lawyers for Twitter to follow was this: that you start labeling tweets which you feel are incorrect or which some fact checker says they're incorrect. So therefore, they were just doing what would be a very sensible move. If you look at, for example, what happened in the US on the January the 6th, for example, to control fake news, you have to label tweets. There's nothing particularly wrong with that.
No, there is. I'll tell you what's wrong with it. If you're going to tell Sambit Patra and his supporters in the BJP that your tweet is fake or manipulated, you must surely explain why and how you've come to that conclusion. You can't say it's manipulated because I say it's manipulated. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but I will act as jury and execution, and I have condemned you.
When you go to a particular platform, you follow by their rules, and if you have a complaint to make, then you feel free to make the complaint and let it
Rahul.
No, make the complaint to who, Rahul Narayan? Make the complaint to who? Who in Twitter is listening? You can't pick up the phone and speak to Jack Dorsey and say, this is my problem. Are they even willing to listen? So while I have problems with the government and the manner in which they are implementing some of these guidelines, the tech companies also need to get their act in order, and particularly Twitter. Who can you complain to?
Supposed to comply with the law. I started with that, but the second thing remains that they do already have a grievance redressal cell which is working. Whether or not it's their personal employee or whether it's a lawyer is something for the government and Twitter to handle between themselves. That's a different issue. But the fact is, there is a grievance redressal mechanism which should be followed in any case. You can say whether you're following the mechanism completely or you're following the mechanism partially, but there is definitely at least a partial compliance, because like everyone notes.
No, Mishi, do you agree with Rahul? He's saying there's a redressal mechanism. Let's assume that Sambit Patra got tagged manipulated media. Surely he himself, his supporters must know how and why was that tweet tagged manipulated. Without that, it's like pronouncing an order by a judge without explaining your judgment or telling us why you did it.
When a restaurant throws me out of
Thank you for exactly saying what the point here is, that Twitter has said, don't make us the adjudicator of this. We do not want, please, let's see about how the business model works. The more engagement we have on these platforms, the more they collect data about us and the profiles they can which can be used for targeted advertising, the only business model of the internet so far. So the platforms love the fact that there is a lot of engagement going on, and they would not like to take this away. But all of us, because we think that all kind of content should not be allowed on that is why we want them to moderate the content. Now, the Twitter, we are asking them basically to say, you know what, you must actually label this. There might be a problem. You must say something about this. They would not want to do it. But we say, if you don't label it, if you don't address it, we will take away the legal protection which we have given to you. So we are now when they do something, we object to it. When we don't do it, then we object. That's why the Supreme Court had said these are complicated matters. You cannot ask private companies to decide to the legality of it. That is why if a private company receives a court order or a government order, not a request by a police officer, that's not a government order. That is not a government agency giving a reasoned order that please take something down. And the Supreme Court said, Mishi cannot say, I don't like Rahul's tweet, so please take it down Twitter. But a court can say it. And when that happens, then of course you should take it down. Now, that is the role which platforms don't want, but we want them to play that role. We can't have it both ways.
That's true. Because Rohan Gupta, the problem with the charge that you are levelling against Arvind and the BJP is that the Congress's own track record isn't better. In Chhattisgarh, you've had instances of tweets by opposition leaders, which happens to be the BJP, in this case, leading to FIRs. The same happened in Rajasthan. So you're not Ganga ka Dhula in any case. You're doing exactly in your states what is happening in places like Uttar Pradesh and elsewhere.
No, there is a difference, Rahul. What case you are talking about, Chhattisgarh, is about forging our symbol, forging document of Congress party.
No, I'm talking about talking about trying to drag Sambit Patra down to Chhattisgarh, filing a case against him, which the High Court finally threw down.
No, it is not about Rahul, let me complete. It's not about dragging. He has misused our logo. He has misused the document of Congress party, and that's what my example is. Government is not talking about it. When Twitter flagged this tweet as manipulated media, rather than questioning Mr. Patra, they have questioned Twitter. That is where the intention of this government is under question. Why BJP office bearer or spokesperson is not questioned? They should have questioned it. Then and then people have relied on them. Today, what's happening, Rahul? Anything against this government is anti-social. They have taken the role of court also. They have taken the role of police also. As rightly told by one of the panelists, what is wrong, it is to be decided by the court. Whether the harbor will go from the platform will be decided by the court and not by the government. But here, FIR is filed. They have taken decision. The safe harbor is removed. What is this? This is not
I'm out of time. Arvind Gupta, final words. Once the government starts taking action against cartoonists, so putting out cartoons which clearly powers that be in your government didn't like, and you start flagging it, then all of what you're saying that this will only be done in dire cases, it will not be done, it's about women whose images are being morphed and misused, it's for those cases. In reality, government's actions are different from your words.
Well, I think you probably are referring to Asim Trivedi, who was many years ago.
I'm referring to Manjul, whose Twitter account was flagged by government.
For being arrested.
No, but come on, the Congress. One second, Arvind Gupta, I have a problem with this argument. The Congress messed something up. The people of India threw them out of power.
No, so
you came on the promise of being a better government. You will be held accountable to that promise.
I'm making a very clear point that I think most of the cases where you have a government intervening are cases where there is either a national security, disinformation, national image. You talked about the Indian variant. I think it was important.
What about cartoons? What about cartoonists and cartoons?
As I said, there has to be an element of public disorder, disinformation. Whether you're communicating via a cartoon or a video or a tweet, if there is an element which is falling under these categories, this is where my understanding the government has taken action. But the second big point, Rahul, I do want to make is, and that's very, very important, is that, you have talked about this fact checkers. I think what this incident in Loni has shown, the fact checkers themselves are totally biased. They themselves are not fact checkers. And some of these companies have been used in the past by Twitter to tag media or to suspend or deplatformize people.
Sure. So I agree with that. I know that there are fact checkers who are not fact checkers in reality, but actually push political agendas, and that's very unfortunate. Because you can't claim to be a fact checker when you're actually hating someone of one ideology and constantly trying to take that person down. That's not fair. That's not appropriate. There is a problem. But my biggest problem in this instance is Twitter is inconsistent. They tag someone as manipulated media without explaining why. The government's actions reek of political vendetta. There can be no doubt about it. In several instances,
I think the government's actions primarily
have been taken against people who put out tweets people in government didn't like. The other problem is the opposition is no better. When the Congress gets a chance, they do the same thing or they do worse. So we have, as users of social media, a situation where everyone is only looking after their own concerns. So Congress in Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan is trying to protect the Congress. Governments run by the BJP are trying to take care of their political interests, and it's you and I who are most vulnerable, because you can have anybody come down at you. The law will not be fairly and equally applied. This requires substantial conversation, and you can't trust anyone. You can't trust Twitter, because Twitter is inconsistent. They have absolutely no business not following Indian law. If a law is being laid down, you need to appoint the grievance officers well in advance of the government deadline and ensure that you're in compliance with Indian law. You're not above the law, no matter what you think, Mr. Dorsey. More importantly, you can't have the government taking action because the UP police is saying this. We saw in the High Court just yesterday, the actions of the Delhi police completely thrown out, torn down, tossed out of the window on the application of UAP and sedition charges against those young Pinjra Tod activists. So that case came crashing down. So you can't have action being taken, somebody's Twitter handle being dismissed because somebody in the Uttar Pradesh police or Delhi police didn't like what was happening or it didn't suit him. So this requires a very, very deep conversation. It's not a binary yes, no, love the government, hate the government, love Twitter, hate the Twitter. You have to find reasonable, acceptable middle ground, which is what we'll continue to push for. Trust no one, question everyone, and see what's the most sensible solution which takes care of the interest of all sides and protects the users who are genuine users of these platforms. Mishi Chaudhary, Apar Maya, Radhakrishnan, Arvind Gupta, Rahul Narayan, Rohan Gupta for joining me on the News Track. Thank you very much. You're on board the News Track. A huge controversy has erupted over a Congress Neta's social media post that claimed that Covaxin contained cow blood. Both the centre and the vaccine maker Bharat Biotech have debunked this claim. The BJP is now accusing the Congress of derailing India's vaccination drive.
It consists cow calf serums, which is actually clotted blood obtained after slaughtering the young cow calves.
Covaxin consists of newborn calf serum, clotted blood obtained from young cow calves after slaughtering them. A despicable new piece of dangerous misinformation that has erupted from the Congress party, fully weaponized to explode religion-based hesitancy amidst an already sharp vaccine crisis.
Now there is this conversation going around on Covaxin based on an RTI response by the Government of India that it consists cow calf serums, which is actually clotted blood obtained after slaughtering the young cow calves. Government should not betray the faith and belief of people. That people should go for the vaccines, yes. That's the only way to defeat the pandemic.
Quoting a Right to Information response, Congress Social Media National Coordinator Gaurav Pandey tweeted the claim along with a copy of the RTI document. The tweet was part of an organized move by the Congress party to put into people's minds that calf blood was being used in Covaxin.
RTI में जो तथ्य सामने आए हैं उसका उत्तर सरकार को और भारत बायोटेक को देना चाहिए. उसके बाद इस पर कोई चर्चा हो सकती है.
While the Congress has been soundly bashed by experts and observers on social media, the government also opened official counterfire, rebutting the claim point by point. Highlighting that the final Covaxin product does not contain newborn calf serum at all, and that the calf serum is not an ingredient of the final vaccine product, the government has said facts have been twisted and misrepresented in these posts by the Congress party.
There was time when some politicians said that this vaccine is not an Indian vaccine, this is a BJP ka vaccine. And I will not take the vaccine. मैं तो vaccine लूंगा नहीं, जब हमारी सरकार आएगी तब हम vaccine लेंगे. And then we had slew of Congress leaders who in fact did not show any interest in Covaxin. Rather, they pointed fingers toward Covaxin.
A 4-point rebuttal demolishes the dangerous Congress googly over calf blood. The Congress claim that Covaxin contains newborn calf serum is false, as is the claim that young calves are slaughtered for Covaxin. Apart from the third false claim that calf blood is somehow harvested for the vaccine, the government has also pointed out that an identical process is used for existing polio, rabies and influenza vaccines. The calf blood claim is the latest in a series of grossly irresponsible hesitancy triggers by opposition politicians targeting Covaxin specifically, including the Congress leadership itself. It started in January with Congress leaders Jairam Ramesh and Shashi Tharoor questioning authorization to Covaxin. This was followed by Anand Sharma and finally Rashid Alvi. Even the Congress's ally, the Shiv Sena, has been embarrassed by the irresponsible cough blood campaign, with Priyanka Chaturvedi saying those who keep talking about the need for scientific temperament and research are now tweeting their disgust basis some RTI on Covaxin, adding to vaccine hesitancy by bringing religion-based choices to it. In its effort to score political points amidst a crisis, has the Congress lost all sense of measure and accuracy? And with the hesitancy virus matching COVID in spread, does the Congress now have blood on its hands? Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the news track. For your time and your trust, thank you. I'll see you again at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.